sitting on the MDX platform, some of the dimensions, certainly wheelbase and some of the width things, but when you compare them together, when we've seen them together, as we were developing, and they're so tremendously different that we don't feel like anybody will feel, oh, it's just an MDX or, something like that. Sitting in it, you feel like you're in a sports car, not an SUV, even though there's that commanding position. It's pretty cool. The original sketches were very coupe-like. We wanted it to be a coupe. I think you heard in the video, the front seats were the priority, rear cargo was second, and the rear passenger space was third. We wanted to give people the capability of having a door to get in and out. It might be a little compromising getting in and out, but once you're in there, it's plenty of space. Once we decided that it would go on MDX platform, it gave a coupe so much capability, it was ridiculous. So we still wanted a very coupe-like driving position, very coupe-like dynamic, very sporting feel. But once you get a little bit propped up and you're still in that position, you feel like, your command of the road, what you see out there, compared to other cars, potholes to, whatever, this car can take it all on. When we first started this, it was a blue sky project. We didn't know what chassis, what platform, or any real indication of it has to be 4, it has to be 2 doors, it has to be 5P. We didn't have any of those limitations. So once we started getting the sketches and we started dialing in, the overall feeling of the car, and we started wanting, people to have the capability and to have that, ability to do the things that they've done previous or maybe, something new. I think the melding, we thought about RL platforms, still all-wheel drive, but much more on-road capable. But when we really started getting into the mindset of this buyer and going to these places, whether it be San Francisco or New York, and then driving out to the countryside or driving to the ski slopes or that's when, we instantly knew it needed to have some commanding presence to it to get people in and out of those conditions, to have, that ability to not, fear going in those capacities. We knew we wanted to celebrate the width of this car, and MDX allowed us to do that. The fact that we still have 5P, 3P seating in the back and still have these really large haunches was something that helped us really keep the initial sketches.
Infiniti's FX seemed to have picked up a pretty good adoption rate, especially in the trendier parts of urban America. Driving around, you see a lot of those. Was that partly, what helped influence your decision possibly to go more of that SUV coupe kind of direction?
Yeah, again, we really weren't looking at anything else on the road. Certainly when we started this more than 4 years ago, there was really nothing like it except maybe the FX as far as the crossover category or something. But again, the fact that it was a coupe first, we really didn't feel like it shared any SUV connection at all, so we didn't, connect it to that car at all ourselves. But again, once we decided the MDX, it just kind of came to life. The whole concept of it being a coupe with so much capability, was what we just really strove for. And the idea that we could capture all those images on this vehicle, I think, is what drove the fact that MDX was chosen.
You can obviously see that this is kind of another evolution of Acura's new design language, how you guys are kind of coming up with a style you can say, hey, that's an Acura. So can you talk a little bit about maybe some ways this car has moved the Acura design language on from the other vehicles that Acura has brought to market thus far?
Right. Well, we think with Acura Advance, and certainly with design side, you've heard keen edge styling for the past few years. We think this takes it definitely to the next level. The idea of that this car really wasn't based on an image like a jet or a top fuel dragster or something like that, but it was more based on emotion and passion and movement, was something that we really, got away from giving people an image of what it should be and let it be more of an expression of their lifestyle. Again, the movement and the energy and the feeling of this car moving even while standing still is something that we really wanted to capture, and I think that's new for us, and it's definitely transcending into new vehicles from us.
That actually reminds me of another question, but I think you answered it. I was going to ask if you guys had a animal mascot or anything like that, like a crouching tiger or leaping.
Bionic cheetah.
Yeah.
Not for this car, actually. Yeah, actually early on, the images that captured us the most was a slingshot being held back in dramatic motion before it's been let go. Yeah, that's to keep that energy or something, but then also even just looking at some architecture was a little bit inspiring because it is such a static, solid object, but yet it still appears to be moving. A lot of that dynamic that we wanted to capture, that exhilarating feeling that even though it's sitting there, you want to get in it and move it. So again, all that motion-based, emotion, motion, the surface is all intercommunicated. We tried to make it look as if the wheels are pushing through the body, instead of just keeping those lines super clean and simple, we have them affecting every other line. All those interacting angles and lines we feel is what gives this thing a lot of dynamic.
It appears to have quite a bit lower ride height than an MDX. I mean, was it the suspension points were moved up? I mean, does it have similar suspension travel or?
Well, it still has a lot of the capability of an MDX, seeing that it is the same platform. Certainly ramp angles and things like that are not necessarily compromised. But we had a lot of, to get the on-road feel, you know, we were given a lot of liberties on how to, you know, visually make the car look lower, even though we didn't really change the chassis at all. You know, we carried over a lot of that functioning capability. Lucky for us, it's a very dynamic SUV that we got to use. You know, it's a good platform to base it off of. But yeah, there's a lot of liberties given here to make it feel more on-road, and certainly the hip point and everything was kind of moved down. So it does dramatically separate itself from MDX, but there still is a lot of that same, you know, capability and platform. It's not dramatically altered.